Hello there, hello there, hello there, YouTube. How are you all? And I've just realised, I've just realised? The chat isn't even on the screen. Yeah, it is, there it is. What? I don't remember typing this in. This is fucking madness. Anyway, because I was thinking, I don't need to put the picture off to the left anymore because the chat isn't there, but it is there. I'm full of shit. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Anyway, quickly to Egg in the chat. You asked how you get a wrench, and you received. Basically, the person who runs the channel has to give it to you, so there's that. I didn't leave out shit, Haruka. I'll tell you who left out. The person I stole this from. Also, check out Kevin on Twitch at Thank you, Kieran. Anyway, how are we all? I'm still stuck on in YouTube hell and Twitch limbo for the next few days, so that's a thing. Although what I'm thinking of doing, because the numbers are actually about the same, even though I have like fucking, I don't even know, like 8 times the sub count or something on this channel that I do on Twitch. Have you forgotten how YouTube works, Kev? No, I hadn't forgotten. I fucking tried, but you know, the annoyance of YouTube's interface, once it's been known, cannot be unknown. Anyway, yes, way with the story, and feel free to spam all of the links because I'm going to do some hardcore e-begging right now. And not really e-begging as such, actually, but just you know, if you wanted to help out. I have a PayPal, I have a Streamlabs, I have a Patreon. Because I'll be honest with you, losing a week's worth of... I don't know what the fuck that noise is coming from outside. Shut up, annoying people. Anyway. Yes. Losing a week's worth of income is not great, because I mean I was barely making ends meet anyway, which I didn't mind because I'm growing on Twitch. You know, you think like, well, it'll get, you know, it'll move beyond that and you'll be able to be a bit more comfortable. How did the panel go in the early hours? It was okay. The highlight being that I shouted penis repeatedly into the ether. Yeah. Open a Ko-fi account. People have had that before, but it's, I don't know. People have said I should do that, but I don't know. Like, I've got a Patreon. Is Patreon what does Ko-fi offer that Patreon doesn't, if that makes sense? I don't know. I don't quite know what the issue is there. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, yes. So I'm going to be... Me and Rory Katz are going to be living... well... Not living good. Not living like the king that Rory is. Okay? So if you can help out in any way, the links are in the chat. You can go and help me out. You don't have to, of course. No one owes me anything. I will probably have to take on a shift or two at my old job to try and make ends meet this month. But it's my own fault. It is my own fault. I can't blame no one. Well, thank you to the person, by the way, who gifted something earlier today and said I should do a sports stream instead. But the thing is, I can't start my sports stream on Twitch because that would be ban evasion and could have both of my channels taken down. So I can't do that. Way with a story and seamlessly transition the same links over here onto Twitch, onto Twitter even. No, YouTube, one of them. Fuck me, I'm bad at this. I'm so bad at this. Who cares? Shut up, Kev. You're a dickhead. I think Ko-fi is better for sporadic amounts, more filling the role of like super chats or bits or whatever than subs. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll look into that. Neo Ripshaft, thank you. I presume you're the same Ripshaft from the other one. I don't know. Twitch is really strict. Well, it's really strict with some things, certainly. It's not so bothered about Nazis, it doesn't really like asses. Even if they are Nazi asses. Ironically. Anyway, talking about Nazi asses. Hang on, so when your Twitch goes down, do they keep your account balance? No, they don't, but you can't earn, like, money for those 7 days. Basically. So, like, I'll get paid up till Friday, and then whenever I start streaming again after that, but you don't earn, like, any more for those 7 days. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I'll go back and I'll have way fewer subs, and I won't have the bits, messages, or anything like that for the 7 days. So, basically, I'll lose the vast majority of the 7 days' income, which is pretty annoying. But anyway. Yes. You can get monthly donate with Ko-fi, but they don't take a fee. Oh, really? Okay. How do they make money then? I don't know. Anyway. Talking of Nazi asses. Boom. I wanted to just briefly mention this story. All of the people you see on screen there are pricks. They're all Nazi pricks. You've got Mr. Medica on the bottom left. You've got these other cunts here, blah, blah, blah. Andy Worski, cunt, whatever. This guy in the top centre is a guy called Jaden McNeil. He recently split, so to speak, with Nick Funes. Nick Fuentes, as it were. Because Nick is weird and mental. And they did this stream, and it's 5 hours, and we're not going to watch anything other than this one clip. But I just some of the sections are amazing. 1,000-yard catboy stare is a good one. That's quality. Nick Fuentes binge watches Euphoria. Nice. What are we? Nick and Stalin's quite interesting. Nick Fuentes seems to think he's the reincarnation of Stalin, which is fun. And there's all this shit. Anyway. But there's one particular highlight, because Nick Fuentes is, how do I put this? Gay as fuck. He is very, 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 very gay. Except that he's so far in the closet, he might as well be in fucking Narnia at this point, frankly. He is a clown shoe of epic proportions. And he's so, like, in denial about this publicly that when this guy left his employ, this is the response he gave. Right, so basically this guy Nick Fuentes wants the people around him to be Nick Fuentes wants everyone around him to be like incels, because Nick Fuentes, who's now claiming to be asexual but clearly isn't, clearly likes cock, is annoyed that this guy may have had sex with a woman. He's a very strange fascioid. There's a lot going on with Nick. Anyway, this story is so delightfully silly and embarrassing that I thought I'd bring it to you. Basically, Nick Fuentes, the broader context is Nick Fuentes has burned his movement to the ground because of interpersonal nonsense, which again is very fascist. But this story in particular is delightful.
Oh, Jake, we got to get this, and this was the funniest thing. So when you left, right, when he kicked you out because you left the door unlocked or whatever,
right?
You left the couch. And
yeah, I left the couch. I left my couch in my bed because I had to move by myself, and he was like, you know, be out by May 1st. Fair enough. I waited, and I was waiting to move initially because like we were supposed to all move to Florida. But then he got mad at me after November, and he's like, "You need to get out or pay me." And it's like, okay, well, I've been here because I was supposed to have a job, and then I was waiting because we were supposed to go to Florida, and he had like family issues and things. So I was trying to stick around and be like a good friend. I wasn't just gonna be like, "Fuck Chicago, I hate it here, I'm out." But he's like, "You need to start paying me, whatever." I'm like, okay, fair enough. May 1st, I'll be out. I wanted to get out as soon as possible anyways to get the fuck away from him. But I left my couch and I left my bed just because I can't haul that in my car. And it's like an 8-hour drive. So, and I didn't want to rent a U.
So this sounds really boring, right? Stick with it.
U-Haul. But he's telling all of his buddies that he got a black light because he wanted to go see if there was any cum on my couch or my bed. He said, like that was some sort of...
Nick Funes took a black light to the guy's couch to see if there was any spunk on it. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, God. We'll go back. Hang on.
But he's telling all of his buddies that he got a black light because he wanted to go see if there was any cum on my couch or my bed. Like that was some sort of own.
No. Okay, hold on. He's cum hunting.
Yes,
He's cum hunting.
he was
real,
licking.
yeah.
He's cum hunting. Jesus Christ. Oh, he's such a weirdo. The guy left his fucking couch in bed there and he went spunk hunting. He took a black light to the guy's thing and went spunk hunting. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, man. Oh, that's too good. That's too good. Oh, God. Could this guy be any more of a fucking closet? Could he be any further in the closet? Really? Oh. Sorry. I had to bring that to you. I could not... Nazi cum hunting. I couldn't not tell you about that. I couldn't not do it. Hippy Dippy. Should we do Hippy Dippy? Fuck it, let's go. They're just talking about abortion and that. That's the way it goes, right? You've got, obviously, Dylan, top left, host, moderator. You've got Aristocracy TV, top centre, liberal VTube person. They're quite nice. Top right, you've got ANCAP cuntbag. And even though, right, I'm going to take a guess here, and I haven't pre-watched this, I don't know. But I'm going to guess that even though he's supposedly an anti-state anti-state libertarian, he's going to say that abortion should be illegal. Because, you know, he's like all libertarians, he's actually a fascist. Then you've got Josie Rose, centre left there. That is a stiff dick of poop. What the fuck? What is that now? Did everyone hear that? I'm still banned on Twitch, so I don't know how that... What is going on here? Did everyone hear that? Did that come through for everyone, the stiff dick of poop? Because isn't that for donations? So, like, but I don't... What? How is that coming through here? I am fucking lost. Well, I mean, I'm always lost, but I'm more lost than ever. Yeah, we got a stiff dick of poop. Which is for a gifted sub, right? Yeah, the stiff dick of poop happened. But how? Because they can't... You can't gift subs to my channel, so I don't... What was that? What was that for? Honestly, I am fucking confused by that. I do not know what the fuck is going on there. Hang on a minute. We'll have to go on to... Hang on. Is it that one? Yeah, accept. Shut up, you prick. Right. Sorry, I've got to... no, I don't want dashboard. I don't want sign-ins. Streamlabs, there we go. Did someone gift to the Streamlabs thing or something? What? Yeah, Scribby. Thank you, Scribby, for donating $5. I don't know how you did that. And I don't know why it's doing a stiff dick of poop for that, but thank you. Much love. Yeah. I am confused. The ghost of Twitch is haunting me, clearly, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so the noises will still happen. Right. Yeah, got Josie Rose, trans streamer, awesome. This person in the middle, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who the fuck that is. Anyway. You've then got Maddie Cakes, centre right, a leftist, streamoid, awesome person. Bottom left, I don't know her name, but I think she's like a Destiny orbiter, whatever. You've then got bottom centre, who is a conservative cuntbag, so you know, you get the idea. Then you've got Taftaj, who's a bit of a rightoid, trans streamer person, who people who watched the overnight stream I did a couple of days ago on Twitch, when I was able to be on Twitch, of course. The last actually completed stream I ever did on Twitch, thus far, will remember that this was the person whose penis was being referenced by the fascioid, who said Taftaj has put a photo out with her cock, which is true. I went and looked for it, and it's there. It's a big old erection. It's a thing. I have seen this person's penis. It was fine. Whatevs.
Now we're going to get into the first topic, which isn't directly about actually abortion, but it is about Roe v. Wade. That has to do with the leak, which is one of the 3 topics we're talking about today. There has been a lot of talk, of course, about the consequences of Roe v. Wade being overturned, but there's also been a lot of outrage from the right over this being leaked in the first place, saying that possibly it could be used to
apparently if you donate to the Streamlabs that's linked there by thankfully by Wayward Historian, much love to you. Apparently that causes the stiff dick of poop. Apparently that's what that is. So if you wanted to make the stiff dick of poop happen to annoy and confuse me and completely derail everything, it's there.
The justices, or that this is a huge issue. And so my question to the room is, how do you guys view the leak of Justice Alito's draft opinion on Roe versus Wade?
Very fun.
I'm going to start with Taj.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Alito addresses this to some extent in the later section of the draft. He talks about how it's the court's job to uphold the law and what they believe is constitutionally correct and not bend the will of public opinion. So I don't think that the chance of the decision being affected by public opinion is very high. I think the court is pretty insulated by design from public opinion. I do, however...
And they're religiously bigoted ideologues. They're religiously bigoted ideologues. So they're not going to change their mind because they were never doing this legitimately in the first place.
There's political implications for this. Abortion is a big wedge issue for Democrats, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this becoming a really big rallying issue in the coming midterms. Democrats are going to want to have the option to potentially put through legislation to codify abortion into the law. And I think this is going to be a really big political strategy for them. So in that perspective, the leak is going to have huge implications politically.
Okay. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Preacher.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised with the leak. It seems like there's a lot more leaks coming. I'm surprised.
Oh, that was that Preacher dude that was on that stream I did a while back. That was quite. He seemed okay, but I'm gonna guess he's gonna be like, actually, you're murderers. You're all murdering the babies.
SCOTUS, but I'm not surprised that there's a leak. It seems there's a lot of leaks going on lately, and I don't think it's going to change.
Now, when they say a lot of leaks going on, they're not referencing Taftaj's cock, which, as far as we're aware, has no leaks. Just saying. I did see that, Jack Brown. It is in the bookmarks. I will deal with that with Christy at some point. By the way, at some point next week, we're going to be having PZ Myers come on, and me and Christy are going to watch with PZ Myers the thing from MythCon, whatever the fuck, Better Discourse, with Destiny and James Lindsay and various other people. Because I can do that on Twitch, because Destiny's not banned. Sorry, I can do that on YouTube and not on Twitch, because Destiny's banned on Twitch. So there's that. Yeah.
the court's opinion, but I do believe with Kaftaj, there's going to be implications as far as politically. I think it's ironic that it happened as the border crisis was starting to heat up again. I don't know if I'd go as far as conspiracy theory to say it was done to distract from that, but it's going to be a rally cry for the Democrats going into the midterms, and I definitely believe they're going to be beating drums around that, and we'll see. But I do believe it'll have political implications. Yes.
Yeah, it's a political thing. Why are Republicans acting like this isn't like an obviously political body? What 255? I already said yes. I got the fucking link. I got the link 255. Yes. And I said it's bookmarked. I'll deal with that with Christy at some point. You need to behave yourself. You absolute boomberclart.
Not so erudite.
Yeah, I think first thing I have to say is, Dylan, you went after my immutable characteristic of being a Canadian. But more importantly on the topic, the leak is concerning to me because of what the Supreme Court represents specifically. It feels pretty self-evident that the leak is politically motivated, which seems oppositional to what SCOTUS is supposed to be. Now, there can obviously be discussion of, like, has SCOTUS ever actually been apolitical?
Yeah, exactly. But also, can I just point out, I genuinely, not just because it would be funny in general, but I want this to have been leaked by a Conservative just to see the 180 Conservatives do about this. Because they're all saying, whoever did this needs to be fired. If this was one of the Liberal justices that did this, they need to resign and to recuse themselves and blah, 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 blah. So if it ends up being a Conservative who outed this in order to sort of test public opinion, to test the waters there, the 180 they're going to do would be like, oh no, that's fine, yeah, that's cool, that's awesome, yeah. It will be interesting, I feel.
But it represents, I think, like a pretty big shift. And there's good arguments for which side of the politics the leaker could have been. I think that this will potentially be very good for Democrats for voting, hopefully in the midterms. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's a unique precedent that's been set.
Okay, next I'm going to throw it over to Maddie.
Cool. So I feel like I'm kind of losing my mind a little bit when anyone says this leak has ruined the legitimacy of the court, when one justice tried to rape a girl, another is in a literal cult, and yet another harassed women and then helped his wife plan a coup. So, like, what are we doing here? Oh, and this is the same Supreme Court, by the way, that upheld slavery, supported racial segregation.
Okay, it's a bit harsh to be like going back quite a long time. But yeah, okay. But can I just say, Kieran, quality reference point. 255 is to Kev that Clem Fandango is the toast of London. Yes, I heard you, 255. Excuse me, Kev. This is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. Fuck it, we're playing Toast of London. I don't even care. I like Toast of London. You have derailed me with Clem Fandango. I don't even care if I get copyrighted for this.
I can't hear you. Press the button. I can't hear you. Press the button, you donut. I can't hear you.
It's Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Yeah, obviously, if you press the button. What's your problem? You've only worked here for 3 years.
Temper, Stephen.
Don't you temper me, boy. Just do your job.
Okay, Stephen. Now, the client was very, very specific about the style of the read and the pronunciation of some of the words. Clem's got it all in front of him. We'll take it from here.
Right.
Hello, Stephen. This is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
You are a fucking star, aren't you? Yes!
Okay, so this is important. The client has expressed that he'd really like you to...
Oh, fucking hell, you've done it again, you... Press the button! I can't hear you unless you push the button!
Stephen, this is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
I dare you to say that one more time. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah, well then keep your finger on the fucking button. I didn't catch a word of that, all right? And I need to hear again exactly how that client wants me to say this script.
Okay, Stephen, so this is important. The client has expressed that he'd really like to stress certain words within the script.
Okay.
And the words he'd like you to stress are
Nay.
Is
that it?
Yeah, that's all it says here.
Stephen, you think the neigh is probably meant to be the sound of a horse?
You want me to make the sound of a horse?
Yeah, I'm guessing the neigh is just a rough indication. So just do the sound of a horse.
All right. Neigh!
Hi, Stephen. This is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The feeling here is that it didn't sound much like a horse.
What?
Would it help that instead of a neigh, you could try a whinny?
A what?
Yeah, we think a whinny might be better than a neigh.
What's the difference?
Just do another horse
I
sound.
think whinny rather than neigh.
Whinny!
Stephen, was that a whinny? Because it sounded a lot like a neigh.
Jesus Christ. Look, I got things to do. And one of those is not sitting with you two pilchards making horse noises. What are you doing?
Just Googling whinny and neigh.
Oh, for fuck's Why don't you just bring a horse in here? Yeah? I mean, I'm sure he'd be able to nail it first time.
Health and safety issue, Stephen.
Sorry, Stephen, I've got this so wrong. It's actually neighbours.
Neighbours.
Yeah, it's my fault. The whole script didn't print out. I just got a bit of it.
You're an idiot. Are we rolling? Neighbours, returning to Channel 5 this autumn. Don't miss it. Every weekday at 5:30 p.m.
Stand and deliver, coachman. Hammer that musket or I'll blow your brains out. Very well, coachman. You were warned. Now prepare to meet thy maker.
Right, English.
Bang.
Lord Walford, I'll give you 3 seconds to open the carriage door or I'll smash the glass.
Smash!
I warned you, Lord Walford!
Whack!
That's great, Ray.
Thanks, Danny.
Why am I doing sound effects?
Just following the client's instructions.
Here we go. 1 minute into the job, Toast starts complaining. You got a script? Quit your belly aching and be professional.
Fuck off. It's just me saying the words.
Hi, Stephen. I'm Clem Fandango.
I know who you are. It's just me saying the words. Why?
Well, in the script, it's indicated at various places. So, for instance, yeah, during the robbery, we need the sound of a bang.
Well, then use the sound of a real gunshot. Not just me saying bang. And later on here, it says honk.
Sound of a horn, yeah.
Well, honk doesn't sound like a horn. It just sounds like a fella going honk.
Might have something to help you there.
Good call, Danny.
Right, Stephen, in your own time.
In your own time.
That's great, Stephen. And keep going.
Are you fucking deaf?
I might clip that little bit and use that as another emote when I get partner. Fuck yes.
I said, are you
Oh, by the way, yeah, I already reapplied for monetization on YouTube last night. It won't happen, but you never know.
fucking deaf? If you are, then you may be thinking of investing in a digital hearing aid. Audio clear hearing aids are discreet and... Is this for real?
What's up, Stephen?
Well, there's swearing in this advert. All kinds of effing and jeffing. Are you really allowed to broadcast this on the radio? I mean, even Channel 4 doesn't have swearing in their adverts.
Anything goes these days.
It's the 21st century, my friend.
Oh, God, yeah. No taboos left anywhere anymore. Okay, let's crack on.
Actually, I've got to go, so I'll see you next week, Stephen, yeah?
What the blazes is this, Ritio? Where's that clown off to?
Went to see his therapist.
His therapist? Ha! That doesn't surprise me.
Danny's considering a sex change operation.
A sex change operation?
Yeah, it's mostly because he thinks his clothes will suit him better if he's a woman. It's just something he's been mulling over for a while. Talking to a therapist about it.
Well, I've heard everything. Sex change operations, swearing in adverts. These really are the last days of Sodom.
Try that line again there, Stephen.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Audio clear hearing aids are discreet and fit snugly into the ear. Check out our website today for details. How the fuck was that?
That's a cool hat. You DJing tonight?
Oh yeah, dropping some MP3 bombs down at Hip Hop Karaoke.
What, the social?
No, above the multi-story car park by the Westway. Oh, yeah. Have you got any candies?
Yeah, I got loads, yeah. How many do you want?
Just a few. I'm pulling an all-nighter, so I'm thinking 6.
Can we get on with this? Have I got to sit and listen to you two talk about leg warmers all day?
Sorry, man. Oh, Stephen, do you want a cup of tea before we start? There's a hell of a lot to get through.
You're not lying. Jesus Christ. I mean, what the hell is this? The Bible?
Well, that's exactly what it is. We're recording an audio book of the Bible. Will your agent not tell you?
No, she didn't. And if she had told me I'd be reading the Bible, I wouldn't have fucking agreed to it.
Stephen, this is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Not really, Cock. Not with all this Bible paper soundproofing the booth.
Oh, cheers, Bernice. Oh, just a sec. Which cup is Stephen's? Well, just leave him here. I'll take it into him.
Fuck.
What, are you fucking kidding me?
Those pills are intense. You'll be chewing the cup.
Hey, I'm gonna put another one in the
Boy, where's my cup of tea?
Coming.
This is the most beautiful thing I've ever read. It's better than Shakespeare. And his ass was beautiful. I'll read this one again. Are we rolling? I love you. And I love you. And did I tell you that I love you? So this, let's go from the beginning.
Yes, I can hear you, 255.
Upheld concentration camps, gutted voting rights, and is now gutting Roe. We shouldn't be that shocked that the court is doing the wrong thing. In fact, I think we should be shocked when the court decides to do the right thing. And yeah, we're just like out here stripping people of their civil rights. And I love that the court still found a way to be the real victims here with this leak, right? They're stripping away women's right to bodily autonomy, but they're the victims. And I know there are a few different theories about who leaked it, what side, what possible advantages there are.
No, 255, I think you've misunderstood the joke. I don't think the joke was transphobic. I think the joke is that this person doesn't understand a changing world. Like, the joke isn't, oh, ha ha ha, this person's trans. It's ha ha ha, this person thinks that swearing is bad and that trans people are some crazy, it's the last days of Sodom. The joke is, this person's out of touch with, like, a modern understanding of the world. So I think you're incorrect in calling it transphobic. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a trans person would disagree with me.
Could be, and let me tell you as someone who works in electoral politics, there's not a ton of upside for Democrats because you may think this is a major wedge issue that can drive turnout, but long term, when we're trying to build voting blocks, we're trying to build, we're basically trying to like organize people in different battleground districts. This type of thing does not translate to long-term voter loyalty. So like, there's not a lot of advantage here from that perspective. But yeah, I think it's absurd.
Well, I think that's slightly long-sighted. Does that make sense? Because it's not, for me, it's, yeah, there isn't like a long-term benefit necessarily to that, but the election that's coming up in November that they were going to get absolutely smashed in, I think they're going to get a bounce because of this, which in of itself is something, I suppose.
That we think the court's legitimate or unpoliticized in the first place. And it's the result of there being gridlock in the legislature and us looking to the courts to do the legislating for us, which unfortunately does not codify anything. So there you go.
I'm going to now throw it over to Kay.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not saying that the character is written that way, but like, clearly the two characters behind the scene are dickheads, right? So the fact that they have a misunderstanding of trans people as well is not that surprising. And the fact that the story is being written by cis people, again, is not massively surprising that they're approaching transgender topics with a level of cack-handedness that we saw in that. But the joke, like I say, the joke isn't at the expense of trans people. The joke is at the expense of idiots who don't get that the world is changing and like feel bad or feel weird about that. It's the prudishness of the main character rather than the trans thing. Do you know what I mean? And when I say trans thing, I don't mean trans people. I mean like trans as an issue or whatever, you know?
So yeah, obviously leaking of anything is going to happen. We're in the day of technology. I think this is going to become more of a common occurrence. I think even like with court cases we're struggling now. as I was joking about earlier, watching the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, there's been a lot of like they had somebody come up to testify and have
See you
information
later,
that you got from
username
online or to talk
Thanks
to
for
somebody.
stopping
And, like,
by.
this is a common occurrence. It's going to keep happening the more technology is being used, as much as it is, especially with social media. So I think this being done definitely has a stance on how the vote is actually going to sway. I think because we've already seen the backlash of it. We've already seen how many people are upset and are causing issues about it. So when that happens, if people are now scared for their lives or scared for what is going to happen to them or their family, I'm sure this is going to have some type of effect on it. I just don't know how to the extent.
Okay, now I'm going to throw it over to Josie Rose.
Yeah.
Josie's based as fuck. If you remember, she was the only one who was like, actually, Destiny's a prick, fuck that guy. And they all ganged up on her. You should all go and follow Josie Rose immediately.
Maddie said a lot about the idea of the leak and how the leak is essentially like...
Oh, the VTuber top center is Aristocracy TV, who's a lib, but it's okay, except for the when it comes to Israel. Yeah, it's weird.
The story, right? It's like, oh yeah, like, you know, there's this entire loss of bodily autonomy of like half of the US population that's about coming down the line, but we're going to talk about the leak. And I think that, you know, sometimes we look at the Supreme Court like we did in our history books when we were in high school, where it's like, the Supreme Court was this, you know, institution.
Josie's got cat as well. Awesome.
That was infallible and wasn't political. And, you know, when you look at a textbook and you look at the theory behind why Supreme Court justices are there for a lifetime, because we don't want this to become political. We haven't seen a dragging of the Supreme Court into a conservative bent for quite a while, right? When we started seeing split decisions all the way up until like the 90s, right? We started seeing more and more split decisions. Back in the past, it was like, no, the Supreme Court's going to agree on everything, right? Because we want to make sure that we're unified on the justices and the law of the land brought forth by the Constitution. But then all of a sudden, the trend started to happen where there started to be more judges that were like going on one side, going on one side, going on one side. And now we have lost our institution, right? Our institution that we used to hold dear to us is no longer that squeaky clean institution, right? So of course, when you get a political institution, what happens? Leaky leaks, right? Leaks all over the place because it becomes more politicized than the actual opinions that happen. So this is just a furthering of the consequences of having a politicized court. And we're going to see more.
It's weird because I didn't set any category for this, but for some reason YouTube have put it under gaming. Okay.
We don't know if it came from the Democrats. We don't know where it came from the Republicans because they both have political narratives to spin because the courts are politicized. So that's really the issue when we start talking about the leak. And people are going to try to point blame and all that stuff. But reality is the Supreme Court has basically lost in this country.
I'm going to throw it over to Fabian.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't really have much respect for SCOTUS as an anarchist, obviously. You know, I think it's always...
You're an ANCAP. ANCAPs are not anarchists. Stop fucking pretending.
Been political. And I think the history of the court has always been one that is kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back in terms of giving more power to the state. I mean, that's just kind of how it's designed, which is that if you determine whether or not things are constitutional or unconstitutional, anytime you determine something is constitutional, it invariably takes away the vagueness that something isn't unconstitutional and then allows and kind of codifies it as something that is. So, I mean, the job of SCOTUS, unfortunately, is one to increasingly grow the authoritarian nature of the United States government over time. I think personally attacking, you know, justices based off of, you know, Democratic talking points and legacy media talking points is, you know, an unfortunate thing that I would hope we could actually talk about the meat and bones instead of, you know, just bullet points that are kind of fucking stupid and are, you know, just half not true. And as well as the leak, I mean, I think we're gonna have to look for the investigation to see who did the leak. I mean, it's possible there was hacking, though the way the documents look, it probably wasn't hacked. You know, a lot of people thought it was a MIT, you know, Sotomayor's clerk. Like, you know, it seems to be that, you know, balanced probabilities, it was probably Elizabeth Dutch, Breyer's clerk. But again, you know, circumstantial evidence at best, so we don't really know who leaked it. But it appears to be that it was probably, you know, someone that was very activist-minded on the court, that was very upset and wanted to galvanize the left. I don't think that it needs this conspiracy theory that, like, you know, oh, this was done to distract us from the Pfizer dump or the immigration or, you know, the Ukraine war. I think, you know, you don't need a conspiracy theory when like interests align. And when someone is really upset and they want to galvanize, you know, their political party, it's going to get leaked. And as a lot of people have said, as technology increases, those leaks become easier and easier to do.
Aristocracy?
Look, I'm not saying Rory didn't do it. I can neither confirm nor deny that he works for any of the justices of the United States Supreme Court. He just has an interest in legal precedent. Okay?
I first of all, Dylan, I can't really raise my hand, so can I just like shake my body or something to let you know instead?
I'm sorry. This is the reality. I mean, as a cartoon. We don't. You know how like McDonald's has like wheelchair ramps. I don't have that for cartoons.
Okay, well, I feel like you should be more inclusive.
Too bad.
And keep that in mind. But anyways, I am gonna shake my body, and you will respond to me when I do that. Okay. Anyways, so I actually think that I'm not an American citizen. So a lot of things that I'm gonna say about this is gonna come from a non-American perspective. But from that non-American perspective, I can tell you that the American legal system is actually unbeknownst to Americans, it's actually one of the most respected legal systems in the entire world. Amongst like legal scholars around the world, like people look to the United States and the way they do like.
Yeah, that's because the rest of the world is like incredibly corrupt, or at least nakedly so. America is as corrupt, just it's more hidden.
Legislation and the history of how they established their legal system as something to admire. That doesn't mean it's not flawed, and that doesn't mean there aren't good criticisms of the history of.
They established their legal system by criminality, having sworn allegiance to His Royal Britannic Majesty. They then committed acts of high treason, killed British service officers, like the terrorist scum that they are, and founded a quote-unquote independent nation, which we're definitely taking back. Okay? Facts, America. Facts!
Supreme Court and all those things. But from a global perspective, it is something that I think Americans deserve to be proud of. But I also think that demonstrates why this whole situation is such a problem. The Americans need to have confidence that the judicial side of their government is impartial, is focused on balanced legislation, and is non-political. It's inherent and very, very important to. It's very, very, very vital to the balance of the government. If the judicial structure of the government is not impartial, right, and is seen as a political, and even if they are, but if they're seen as a political party, it basically kind of creates a collapse of like the entire structure of how the American government was organized.
Based.
So you guys are probably going to need a monarch or something to come in and fix things up, but.
Based aristocracy. Cut me monarchy pilled. Let's go. People who didn't follow me over to Twitch are thinking, wow, Kev changed his opinion on the monarchy a lot. Fuck.
That was a joke, kind of. The thing that I would say is that this whole situation has really demonstrated how political the judicial branch has become, unfortunately. And Americans probably should take this really seriously, and it seems like
Americans.
The fact that this is established legislation that is supported by the majority of Americans that just got overturned when it so happened to have just had 3 court justices appointed by Trump. It's not a coincidence. Everyone knows why. Everyone realizes that the judicial branch has become political, and so yeah, this is something to be taken really seriously. Like you have someone like Justice Roberts, who is.
That's what annoyed me in the week about fucking Sprouticus talking shit about how this wasn't was it activism from the bench? What the fuck are you talking about, man? Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Now, like on the fringe. Which is crazy because he's not exactly like a left-wing dude, but he's now on the fringe of the courts. He's completely lost control, so it's very unfortunate. And I totally understand why Americans are upset and disappointed in this. They have something very special, and they deserve to be upset that the sanctity of it is kind of up in the air.
Okay, so these intro segments are done. Is there anybody that wants to start off the open section? Okay, Maddie?
I'll start. Yeah, so I wanted to add a little bit of color as to why I think we're seeing the Supreme Court become far more politicized.
You can add a little bit of colour if you like, but on this channel, we don't see colour.
I think it's always been politicized. But a large reason why is because of the gridlock in the legislative branch. Because more often we are looking to the judicial branch.
I've now changed us to
essentially
news and
legislate
politics,
on
by the
behalf
way.
of what we would normally expect to go through the legislature, and that is almost entirely due to the filibuster. The filibuster adds gridlock so that pieces of legislation that would otherwise maybe be controversial just don't get passed or don't get pushed through. And that pushes off that responsibility of legislating these major issues, especially around things like civil rights and civil liberties, to the Supreme Court. And that court was never intended on serving that purpose. They were intended to be a check on the legislative branch. And now all of a sudden, we're asking them to be the deciding body on major pieces of legislation. Same-sex marriage is a perfect example of what that looks like in action. So I think if we want to reduce the amount of politicization that you see in the Supreme Court, the best possible way to do that, at least in the short term, is getting rid of the filibuster.
You know, I agree with you, Maddie, on what you're saying. I think that the Supreme Court really ought to be a more neutral body and ought to stick to what is the law currently and what is constitutional, and to not sort of legislate from the bench, not extend beyond the law. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think it's frustrating, but I guess we'll get into it in the next, few topics. But yeah.
Cool.
I think that's what it comes down to is obviously
Popper!
we always hear, well, this...
Josie's got Popper! Let's fucking go. Popper time.
Was going to be a conservative judge. This was going to be a liberal judge, and it really shouldn't be that, because yes, the Supreme Court they're supposed to just take laws, not make laws, but take laws and weigh them against the Constitution, and is this constitutional or not? They're not supposed to be making laws. But as far as the leak goes, I don't know what the intent. Maybe the intention is to hopefully sway public opinion and have the court of public opinion change whatever the courts are going to decide. I don't think that would ever happen with the Supreme Court. I would hope it doesn't happen with the Supreme Court. But either way, having that level get a leak out, that's dangerous. That sets a dangerous precedent. That should be like that should be
we've had this happen before. It happened with Roe v. Wade, actually.
Right. Oh yeah, no, this isn't the first time it's happened. Fortunately, with this level, it's very rare, but it shouldn't be at all. Like, I don't know. To me, if you're going to have a position where you're doing anything in the courts like that, you should have the brains enough to keep everything confidential and let the system play the way it's supposed to go. But unfortunately, and left and right, you have activists on both sides, and they'll do what they got to do to get their party ahead one way or another. It's left and right
Maddie,
doing it. So,
Maddie, can I ask you what you mean by, because maybe more details, because you say that the filibuster is an issue, and then you talk about the politicization of the Supreme Court as if it's a kind of a recent thing, and yet the filibuster has been an issue on and off since the 1860s, and Roe v. Wade was known as being one of the worst instances of legislating from the branch.
Oh, yeah,
even Ruth Bader Ginsburg admitted this, and this is 73. So what do you mean by saying are you saying the filibuster since the 1860s has been a stain on the entirety of our government for the past 200 how long, what do you mean?
So actually you can look at the Thank you. I'll make it make sense. So you can actually look at the numbers in this case for how the use of the filibuster has evolved over time and what that has meant in terms of the Supreme Court docket. So yes, back in the 60s, that was actually the first time where you saw the filibuster truly weaponized, similarly to how it is in modern day with the Civil Rights Act. So you had a senator stand on the floor and talk for over 24 hours trying to block the Civil Rights Act, and then eventually it was able to be pushed through. But that was kind of the first time that it was weaponized to that degree in order to block a piece of legislation that could be considered somewhat controversial, and usually it has to do with bills that are concerning civil rights. What we're seeing now is that the use of the filibuster, and I actually did a stream on this a little over a year ago, and the amount of times that the filibuster has either been implemented or threatened to be used has increased exponentially, and it has gone up especially high under the watch of Mitch McConnell. So
yeah, I mean, I remember Ted Cruz reading Green Eggs and Ham to his kids during a filibuster, and I thought, this is not a sterling example of democracy in action, is it? Really? Not amazing. Oh yeah, look, I've no doubt that a lot of legal scholars probably are fine with Roe versus Wade. Look, it's survived 50 years, so it can't have been that terrible. But this is a conservative talking point. Oh, it's legislating from the bench, blah 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 blah. It's ridiculous.
rather than being used as a way to engage in just further discussion, getting more people to weigh in on the legislation, it's more so just been used as a blocker. Now, that is directly correlated with an increase in the number of cases being proposed on the Supreme Court docket. So when you look at just how many cases were presented to the Supreme Court every year, back in the 50s and 60s, it was a lot lower because so much more went through the legislature. Whereas now what we're seeing, especially with this exponential use of the filibuster simply as a blocking mechanism, the amount that is being put on the docket for the Supreme Court is that is directly correlated. So that's why I'm saying, because I agree with you. I think it's foolish to think that, you know, the Supreme Court has never been politicized and now all of a sudden it's our great institutions being tarnished. It's like, no. That certainly is not the case. However, what we're seeing now is that politicization is being weaponized in a different way because they're being asked to legislate basically on behalf of the legislature. And when you're asking people with lifetime appointments to make those kinds of decisions, that is troubling. And then when you see just how much more is on their plate now versus 50, 60 years ago, yeah, it's fucking concerning. And that, again, is in direct correlation with the number of times the filibuster has either been threatened to be used to stall legislation or actually used and they were not able to reach a cloitre vote.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna respond real quick. I'll keep it quick. There's a ton of things wrong with your argument. Yeah, there is. So number one, your issue. Pause. Your issue here is with the procedural filibuster, right? Possibly, and the fact that the filibuster has changed in its implementation, and that's a decent argument. Obviously, anyone that's taken any class in college knows that correlation is not causation, right? It could just as easily be that
I have an economics master's degree. I know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, apparently you're not using it. So you could also just
not right
as easily.
Now. I'm listening to a moron.
Yeah. So you can.
Can we get? Well, we can't get wigglers because I feel depressed now already. But can we get some round of applause for Maddie just beasting this guy? Just consistent bodying. Like, he's already dead. Come on now.
You could also just as easily talk about the fact that the complexity of laws have changed. You could also talk about the fact that the culture of political extremism and the division has grown, and that could be more of a cause. You could also simply say that the state has become more authoritarian in its measures, and so therefore there has to be more constitutional challenges brought to the court. There are a ton of other things that you could say, and instead what you're giving is this surface level analysis and then tying it with DNC talking points. And I think it needs to be exposed.
I feel like
I work for the DNC, and those talking points are not located anywhere in DNC talking points, but pop off.
Got it.
I feel like we could acknowledge
Nice.
is one component in this. And I think we could also acknowledge that there has been increased political polarization. Democrats have moved left. Republicans have moved right on some things and left on other things.
I mean, firstly, radical centaur in action, as we can see there. But secondly, what have they moved left on? What have the DNC really moved left on? Since 1972, let's say. I await your response.
And the country and the political system is deeply divided on many issues, and that makes it in of itself also difficult to pass legislation through Congress. So obviously there's a number of factors that we can identify. And I agree that they collectively point to an increased politicalization of the Supreme Court. In addition to that, a lot of people have intense vested interest in the outcomes of American policy. People globally have vested interest. And so the incentive to influence the American political system by any means possible, just increases year after year. So people are going to find whatever way they can to work the system and get their preferred policy outcome.
I also just want to reiterate how normal it is that Roe v. Wade legalized abortion. People seem to think that that's a strange thing that a court case did that. It's totally normal for court cases to set legal precedents and that to form into law. And I think that's a healthy way to do law. Almost all.
How else would you set legal precedent but via a court case? You write the law, but the precedent in terms of how it's implemented, it's entirely a court matter, isn't it?
Cases
under English common law, anyway.
That's happened around the world in the West, in the Western world. That's legalized or decriminalized abortion. Actually happened through landmark court cases like Roe v. Wade. We had our own in Canada as well. So it's not something abnormal, and I don't think that itself is a good criticism of the case or a good argument for the need to actually legislate it itself. The issue seems to be specifically with the judicial system. and how you guys put court judges and all, pick court judges and all of that. But yeah, I don't know how it connects to the filibuster, but I don't know why you guys have filibuster. It's weird.
Roe v. Wade is another topic, though, but I mean, we can get into that. But there are a number of issues with Roe v. Wade itself.
Sure, but the idea of the concept of like just not even analyzing the case itself, but the idea that
So the anarchist, who's actually an ANCAP and therefore not an anarchist, is going to be like, actually, abortion should be illegal. Fuck you. But if you aggress upon me in any way whatsoever, I get to nuke your house.
a case legalized abortion, that is not weird. That is not like
Yeah,
straight.
that's not what
thing.
people are talking about, right? And again, this bleeds into another topic, right? But when they say legalization, right, they're not, or like legislating from the bench. They're not talking about saying something is now the law. What they're talking about is the details, right? Roe v. Wade and also Pennsylvania Planned Parenthood v. Casey, right? It set up things that are designed to be done by the legislature. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg admits that these are issues, and that's why she wanted Strusk to be the case and not Roe v. Wade. But like I said, we can get into those details later.
The other thing is that it wouldn't necessarily be unusual for a court to make this kind of decision that has legal implications. That's the purpose of a Supreme Court. What makes it unusual is the circumstances in which Roe v. Wade was, decided on by the court, and the relative unprecedence in common law and a variety of other factors, how it relates to the Constitution, that make it seem more like a political action.
Yeah, and what the difference too is that while the courts can make a certain decision and then that law goes into effect, so same-sex marriage is a perfect example where as soon as that decision came down, same-sex marriage was legalized in all the states. The problem though, when you don't have anything that goes through the legislature and then is signed into law, is that those protections aren't codified. So you're really operating with the understanding that should that be held as precedent, that those protections and rights and whatever
Good
are
night,
going
Pandanus.
to be
Thanks for stopping
given
by.
to all Americans. The problem is, as we're seeing with this, is that those decisions can be overturned. That precedent can be overturned. It's rare, but it can happen. So without something going through the formal legislative process where they have those protections signed into federal law, that kind of leaves an opening for the potential of the decision to be reversed. So that's what
that makes no sense.
So
it
wait,
makes perfect sense.
It makes no sense. Like legislation is overruled too.
Okay, wait.
Want me to explain
there's
how government works?
There's multiple people talking at the same time, so I'm gonna go in order. Preacher hasn't spoken much. Preacher was gonna, I think, object. I see Josie, so it's Preacher, Fabian, and Josie. So I'm probably gonna go in that order because Josie, did you want to back Maddie up or did you want to?
I just wanted to say that Fabian Liberty keeps on saying that our Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't like Roe. It wasn't that she didn't like Roe. It was that she didn't like the strength of the decision of a right to privacy decision and the undue burden that was stated by the court. She felt that Roe v. Wade could have been ruled stronger, but the precedent wasn't strong enough by the way it was written.
Also, can I just say, I don't care what some fucking dead prick thought. No offence to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she's dead now. I mean, it's not really that relevant. Also, I don't like the fact that these unelected, seemingly rather unaccountable, crusty old geriatric cunts are deciding things in this way. Seems very undemocratic, but whatever.
So you can't just throw around our rage quit. Okay, we're good. All right. I guess that's it. All right. So my point stands. Josie W. We're good.
Okay. Preacher?
Yeah, I just maybe I missed something, but we seem to be onto a whole different topic. I thought the topic was on the leak itself, and I mean, I thought we were going to be talking about the leak in the first topic and whether this is a good or bad thing. We seem to already be on to the second topic. I'm confused here.
There's only so much I think we can get from this.
Okay, so we're on the topic.
I think it's turned
Sorry
into
about that.
like
My Discord decided to update randomly.
Can I just respond to what Josie said really quickly?
Sure.
I do think that maybe it's useful to be specific in our language here, because Ginsburg wasn't happy with Roe v. Wade. What she was happy with was abortion access and rights. So I think you're right in saying that she wanted those protections to be stronger, but her argumentation for getting those stronger rights would be either legislating differently, so she wanted it through equal protections of sex-based discrimination, or
Hang on, Haruka, are you annoyed that I said that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a prick? Is that what you're annoyed with me by? Because if so, I can bring up the things she said about Black Lives Matter if you want. Like she was still, a crusty old bitch. Just saying.
legislating it incrementally through like states or Congress. And she had the opinion that Roe v. Wade itself was not law done very well, and also had a high chance of being, overturned, and that was her fear. So
she also feared that all of the elements that were necessary to establish abortion as a right were not present in the Roe v. Wade case.
Yeah.
And that's why she wanted Strusk to go forward, because this was a woman in Vietnam that was being denied like actual rights because of whether or not she wanted an abortion. And so it had like the religious element, it had like the actual denial of rights that were afforded, which would allow it to be more strongly linked to like gender discrimination and things of that. And it wouldn't have been such a stretch, and it wouldn't have been a controversial opinion.
And the only reason I bring this up is because we'll get into later.
You're right, Cyberone. Like, these are the same people who supported Donald Trump who literally called for the Russian government to leak stuff about Hillary Clinton. But yet we're supposed to pretend. We're supposed to fucking pretend that the Republicans care about fucking... about privacy and leaks and stuff. Oh, shut up, man. I don't... Fucking bullshitters.
Like the distinction, because I think you can make an argument that Roe v. Wade is not law done very well, but that abortion is maybe something that's good to have, access to. And I think that's really what Ruth Bader Ginsburg's opinion is.
Right, but Fabian, let's say it did go the Struss decision, and then all of a sudden, would you be like in favor, or would you be outraged if they overruled that too?
Who said I'm outraged?
I'm just asking if you are.
Like, I'm evictionist. I'm not pro-life. Like, I believe women should be able, until the date of birth, to be able to evict a baby. The only thing...
Okay, I was wrong. You know what? I was wrong. I apologise to our ANCAP friend, who isn't an anarchist, just to reiterate that point. He is an evictionist. They should be able to evict a baby from themselves. No, that's actually... I mean, God. It's okay, he supports a woman's right to choose and stuff, but even that has to be like filtered through his weird proprietarian view of everything. Like, every single part of it has to be like, every single part of his nonsense has to be, your body is like your house. Amazing. Like, I mean, women are kind of the landlords of their own bodies, I suppose. Like, he's not entirely incorrect. It's just like, capitalism is a brain rot, isn't it? When you buy too deeply into it, it sucks you into a weird way of viewing things. Actually, not unlike, I tell you what, hang on. That's ZZ Top if they were a dog, by the way. That's nice. Where are we? Where are we? Yeah. Amy Coney Barrett wrote a brief about abortion. She noted that the USA needed a, quote, domestic supply of infants. I'll repeat. A domestic supply of infants to meet the needs of parents seeking infants to adopt. So it literally just market forces. The market requires the child sacrifice. It's fucking mental.
The thing I'm against is dismemberment of the body. Like, I'm essentially pro-choice. Like, are you just assuming like right wing or bad?
No,
like,
I was just curious because you're talking about how poorly written Roe v. Wade was, and you were
it's poorly
saying,
written.
hey, there was a better alternative. So I was just trying to make sure there was a logical consistency there. I was just asking. Don't get offended. Don't get offended. I don't know you.
I could be wrong, but
I
could be wrong, but I actually feel like I see Fabian's argument and Maddie's somewhat connected, right? Where like if filibusters weren't happening to like politically wedge and like stall legislation, for example, like
Radical
the Supreme Court coming in and weighing on this
censor.
rule, like it would have been better probably through other institutions like the Congress to go through, but because of processes like filibusters Maddie's outlined, it's led to basically being opted into the Supreme Court, which led to the Roe v. Wade situation. And the Roe v. Wade, like privacy is kind of a weird one. The key of this overturning is that Casey went through Roe v. Wade and did all of the like precedential work and like looked through the history and all the traditions, and they're like, yes, Roe v. Wade was like kind of a historical uniqueness, but we support it. So like Roe v. Wade by itself, you can maybe quibble like, oh, it's a little weird, but Casey behind Roe v. Wade, I find a hard time quibbling too much over Roe v. Wade because Casey came out in support of it.
Okay. I wanted to
going back to the topic. Are you done with the topic, or are we talking about the
wanted-
leak in particular?
Yeah, I
because
wanted to
the
make
leak is kind of a distraction
Can
from
you-
the meat and potatoes of what's going on.
Is my mic working? 1 second. Is my mic working or is it low? I just wanted to make sure.
Talking of meat and potatoes, I've seen Taftag's meat and potatoes. Not that impressive, but she is white, so you know.
Okay.
Now it's working.
Okay, fantastic. Kay, earlier I know you tried to butt in a few times. Is there anything you wanted to say before we probably move on to the next topic?
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. That's your new nickname, by the way, 255. I'm now going to call you Clem Fandango. And no one will understand back on Twitch, will they? Dickheads. On opening arguments, Andrew defends the Supreme Court on the argument it's important to have a body that ideally defends the rights of minorities that can't win elections. Thoughts on that? Well, that's nice in theory, isn't it? That's nice in theory. It doesn't really tend to work out that way, unfortunately. There are too many kids that end up in the care system for life. Exactly, yeah. The idea that there aren't enough kids to be adopted is fucking a joke.
Because it seems like people.
I think we've gone way past of it. I think we've gone straight into like judicial and stuff. It was more past the leak idea of it. When Preacher was talking about how like it doesn't happen very often, but I was going to comment like, do you think it's going to happen more with the way social media is? Do you think like in the environment that we are in, do you think stuff like this is going to continue to happen more? And do you think it's beneficial for us to know some of these things rather than keep it hidden away or not?
Okay, I'm going. Oh, sorry. Did you ask the question?
Yeah, I was talking to Preacher.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh yeah, I'll say I do believe it's going to happen more because of social media, because of just internet in general. I mean, it's not like it wasn't going to be kept secret from us. That was just the first draft that was leaked.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to release their decision eventually. Someone was saying, I forget who I listened to, said before they go on their summer hiatus, they were going to release it anyway. They might as well just release it now. But I think that all things should be done in due time. So I think, does the leak really hurt a whole lot? Not really. I just think it's more of a slap in the face of the institution, to be honest with you. But I do think, yes, with technology being the way it is, yeah, I think it's going to be. We're going to see a whole lot of kinds of leaks happening much more often.
I think there's something that is like people are really not understanding about when cases come out, right? When writ of certs come out and a majority opinion is put out, there's also a dissent, right? And the fact that we have a draft of the majority opinion, right, without a dissent, and there's, especially with Roe v. Wade, it wouldn't surprise me if there are multiple dissents. I wouldn't surprise me if like Sotomayor is writing her own dissenting opinion, Breyers is writing his own dissent. It wouldn't surprise me if like we don't know if it's a 6-3 decision or if it's a 5-4, right? And if it's a 6-3 decision, that could be.
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. Does this mean white Americans should be adopting white American kids? I think, yeah, it's basically great replacement theory, isn't it? To Clem Fandango. Clembo. Yeah, she's basically doing great replacement theory, but like in a judicial sense or whatever, which is rather worrying.
Really interesting, but if it's a 5-4 decision, we might end up with 3 opinions from the court. And the problem with that is that when a justice writes something, even when it is a dissenting opinion, it is still something that is referenced in lower courts, right? And so because we have a draft of a majority opinion that may be harsher than what the actual end will look like, right? And may have additional information. So part of that is an issue, because this could just be like, this is what I'm thinking, now let's argue about this and critique this and have something a little bit differently. But also because we don't have that paired dropping at the exact same time with the dissents, what you're having is you're having the most extreme view as far as the left is concerned, which is the overturning, and you're not having the opinions of the dissent that can be used in the lower courts as a means to retry abortion rights at the federal level, right? Because
the dissents are fucking pointless. Shut the fuck up, you cunt.
The idea that overturning Roe v. Wade just means, oh, well, this went back to the states and that's all done, right? No, like Roe v. Wade is being overturned because it's a shit case, right? And Casey's a shit case, and they're not done very well. And what is going to happen instead is that this opinion is going to come out, and then it's certain laws that, like in Louisiana, we're already seeing like charging women with murder for like abortions after 4 fucking weeks because the Republicans decided they just wanted to go off their fucking rocker because they got the fucking nightmare fuel to go do that. And so it's really important to understand that leaking one draft is a big problem because it doesn't come with dissent. And
shut the fuck up. This guy's such a twat.
It doesn't come with the other justices' opinions, and it doesn't give us a full view of the opinion of the court and how that might actually be legislated and what the avenues are. And instead, we're writing legislation based off of fear-mongering of Roe v. Wade going away.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Let me just say, like, you may have the dissenting opinion, but like those, you can't use those as precedent in the same way that the majority opinion is held. No one was able to deny same-sex marriage because like Scalia wrote like a scathing dissent opinion to it. Like, I'm sorry, that's just fucking
not true.
wrong. No, it is true.
Wrong.
Oh, it is true.
You don't.
And also, I don't fucking care how much you think that Roe is like a shit case. Like, oh, it's just my bodily autonomy. So like, when the outcome is that, when the outcome is hinging on you like agonizing over like, well, the specifics of the case weren't great. It's like, how, like, fuck you, dude. How dare you?
Okay, yeah.
Bay and based.
Wait. Okay, so We're no longer talking about the first topic. The first topic is dead in the water.
True.
We're already into the second topic. Do people want outros, or should we just go on to second topic? I think second topic.
Can I at least respond?
Okay.
To someone saying, "Fuck you, how dare you?"
Well, Fabian, yes. But did you want to bring that back into the first topic, or should we just make it the second topic? I think we should just make it the second topic.
So long as I can get a quick response,
Okay,
I'll move on.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I care about body autonomy more than you do, first and foremost. There's no way that someone
Hilarious.
that's a statist cares about...
Statist? Can we get some statists in chat, please? Statists! Woo! Let's flipping go.
Body autonomy more than I do. I'm an evictionist.
Wow.
Second of all,
I care about bodily autonomy. If you poke me in the chest, you have broken the nap. I get to shoot your dog. Fuck yeah.
You're dead wrong. Assertive denials and dissenting opinions are used not as precedent, but as opinions all of the time in lower court.
Yeah, opinions, not precedents. That's not a legal fucking protection then, is it? That's fluff.
And if you say that that's not true, like, you just don't know what you're talking about. It is like assertive denials.
Then
and
why have a
dissenting
Supreme
opinions.
Court if they can just issue two decisions
That's
and
because-
then they can kind of pick and choose? Why bother voting then, Fabian?
Because it's very...
I don't understand.
I get it. You don't understand the legal
Not
system.
be
What I'm
stupid.
saying-
Why
no,
would they not need to?
It's not stupid. You just don't understand the legal system. It's very common that things get challenged.
Okay.
It's very common that things get challenged in the lower court, or that there are gray areas. And what people will do is they will bring up assertive denials, and they will
Name an
bring
example.
up... Oh my God,
Name an example that's ever happened, because, like, I'm sorry.
So in California, there are cases on the docket where individuals are arguing the assertive denial from Justice Thomas on Section 230 reform. This is an example.
And has
of
that gone
even
through?
though-
Has it actually been used? Has it
Well,
actually
you
led to any
shut-
sort of
well,
legislation?
you
Get to the
stop.
point, bud.
I
Get to the
am
point,
getting
babe.
to the point. You're just trying to yell over top of me because
All
you're
right,
fucking
let's
wrong.
go. Let's go.
It occurs all of the time that people use assertive denials and people use dissenting opinions when there are gray areas to say, hey, look, the Supreme Court has this.
Do you think he has any self-awareness, like, whatsoever? Does he... Fabian, are you broken? Like, it seems like your head might be very broken, my man. Yeah.
Type of an opinion based off of this specific matter, and this adds to my case. It adds to the legitimacy. It doesn't necessarily need to be legal precedent for them to use it in lower courts.
Oh, that
It
is...
important.
Hang on. Fuck this guy for a start. But also, Paul Fletcher in the chat. That is... Oh, that's so good. With his house analogy, he would be an estatist. Oh, come on. That is... That was me clapping my ass cheeks. That's how good a pun that was. That's how good a piece of wordplay that was. I was twerking and jerking, my friends. You are very... Paul, if you ever need a hand job or something, come my way. And I'll make you come my way. Ayo!
When a leak occurs and only a draft of the majority opinion is out, that it's an issue that the dissent is not there. Otherwise, why the fuck would the dissent be there?
So how is that ever overturned, like a major law? Sorry, I know we're going to the next topic, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's all very nice, but until that it goes through the entire legal process, women are still going to die from not having access to abortion. Like, someone may be able to think that that strengthens their legal argument. They may think, like, oh, okay, because there's this, like, massive, very important opinion from a Supreme Court justice that somehow that bolsters their challenge to that law. But the reality is, like, that doesn't actually mean that then they can go have autonomy over their own body. That doesn't...
True. And I also like the fact, because Dylan, I think, is still in Poland, and Geek is just... Mr. Geek, the guy behind him who's like his editor and stuff, is just sort of wandering around the apartment, just in the background, like a fucking dog.
mean that all of a sudden then they can get those civil rights back. Like, that just isn't how it fucking works. And to think that, like, oh, don't worry, because there'll be a dissenting opinion. Like, what a fucking racket. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic.
You're being insane.
Let's move on to the next
You're
topic.
you're getting into emotional
hysterical?
arguments instead of talking about what I'm actually talking about.
I think Fabian is just saying that, like, when the dissenting opinion comes out, there will be some state level courts that look at that, and when they're drafting their federal or their state opinion on the legality of abortion, they will use that dissent and the argumentation within it to allow people access to abortion, right?
But that's not how it's going to work. Like, in reality, like, that is not...
Yeah, exactly. Fucking Fabian literally... Fabian... No, I've got it at 1.25 speed, human. So if they sound like they're gabbling, it's because it's, you know, I've got them sped up for time purposes. Anyway, Fabian already gave the example of Louisiana, where they're planning a bill to criminalise the mother for murder. So how exactly are they going to take into account that and do anything there? Like, what, are they going to not charge them with murder now? It's such ridiculousness. Like, he's just full of shit. Well, they're both full of shit.
That may be something that they add as part of their overall arguments in the legal challenges that are going to come from whatever decision this is made. But when you look at how people's like when you think about how people are going to be affected by this decision, just because there's a dissent that argues from the perspective that maybe a lot of us share, that isn't going to mean shit when it comes to women trying to get abortions. Yeah, they might challenge it in court. Yeah, that might be something that they cite in those challenges. But when we think about, well, is that going to do shit to help women get abortions, especially in red states? No, the fuck it's not.
I want to say
it
this.
matters. It matters.
Fabian,
dissenting opinions matter.
Let me say something really quickly here. So let's say you're in Alabama. Let's say you're in Alabama and we get a federal court and they're like, you know what, this goes above the law. We were talking about Louisiana. We're calling it murder now, right? And they use that dissenting opinion to try to uphold and put a stay on that type of work until what happens? It goes back to the Supreme Court. And what does the Supreme Court do? They will lay on top of their precedent. That's what will happen, baby. And so, like, they can use those opinions all day, but it's still not the majority opinion of the court, and especially if it's a 6-3, 5-4 as well. The majority court is not going to overrule the ruling a year after they just overruled it. Like,
of course,
you know,
they're not going to take the case in the docket, and it's probably going to be started.
Oh, shut the fuck up. So everyone's rights depend on whether they actually take the case in the docket. Shut up, you prick. Also, Madicake swigging from a Coke bottle there. Disgraceful activity. The Kev would never do that.
Very decisive, even if they did. But what I'm talking about, right, is that this is moving it over to the legislator. There's no reason that the federal government can't legislate some form of things. And when you have a leak, you have a draft that isn't necessarily the opinion of the court, number one. And number two, you don't have the dissenting opinion. And the dissenting opinion often gives views that either bolster or change what the other opinion is. They give avenues that say, like, look, you can challenge this if you do it this way. You can legislate it so long as you do it this way. These are the issues. Or they can say, like, yes, this was overturned, but this doesn't mean that abortion isn't a right. It just means that the way that this case isn't an appropriate thing. Like, there are a ton of different ways that a dissenting opinion can be used to inform the legislator.
Right? Is that what you're like? Essentially, this is not the final decision by the court.
It's half of the opinion, and it's a draft of half of the opinion, and that causes more damage than if we had all of.
Okay, so we'll just wait until they actually release the full thing then, and then what's your excuse going to be? Shut the fuck up, man.
The opinions together, and that they were cleaned up, and that's the only argument I'm making. And then people are going about like emotional arguments about like women will die, none of this matters.
They will.
Like, why are you
yeah, they will. Yeah.
Why are you debating the fucking
emotional,
topic?
So hysterical.
Why are you debating the topic? Hang on. So women are going to die. Why are you debating the topic? Because we'd rather they didn't die. We'd rather the public policy be something different that didn't lead to these women dying. Call me crazy, but you know. Hey, Arizal David, North London, hello. I recognise some names here.
That women will fucking die because this is overturned, and we aren't supposed to feel good because there's going to be a dissenting opinion.
It's just talking points.
Oh, it's not the topic that this decision, this as it's written, this draft, even if they water it down a bit, the fact that
Can you not bring up the inconvenient fact that the women will die? Because that's not the topic. It's just about the leak. We can't talk about anything else surrounding the leak, just the leak. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. You're an idiot.
The material outcome of that decision is that abortion will be illegal in many states. That is the outcome. Sure, you have some dissenting opinions, which I will admit they are important in that they can be referenced when shaping cases and finding ways to legislate around that. That is clear. But no, I'm not that.
You literally don't even know that.
You literally need to shut the fuck up right now, please. So, like, what you need, thank you, Fabian, you've had your time. So, like, what I'm saying is that to think that the outcome, because we're supposed to feel better that there's a dissenting opinion that can be referenced when the outcome of the overall decision
Nobody told
is
you
that
to
abortion.
feel better.
No.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up.
I talked about facts, and you're just ranting about emotions.
Okay, we need to stop. We need to stop for a second. Okay, we need to stop for a second.
Rational daddy.
Okay.
Thank you, Tough Dad.
Okay, so there was.
Okay. Eris is wiggly.
Okay, wait. Okay, so we didn't have opening statements for everybody on this topic because we just kind of slid into it because nobody wanted to talk about the first topic. It seemed like really in detail. So I think we're going to do opening statements because it's getting really heated. And I want people to give it just a chance to cool down. Okay, so we're going to start from the bottom and go to the left all the way because I see a lot of people want to talk. So we're going to start with not so erudite opening statements for that.
Sure. I'm hearing a lot of like
be clear,
talking past.
the topic now is Roe v. Wade being overturned. Now we're actually talking about it being.
Right. So this is exactly what I was worried about, is that fundamentally I mostly agree with Maddie, but when we get into like moral grandstanding over a topic, we don't come to good solutions, right? And so like there was a big issue when I was listening to
Radical Centaur.
Maddie and Fabian going at each other, and that like Fabian's talking about like the nuance of like dissent and like how it can be useful. Because for example, like we all know, I agree with you, Maddie, this is going to be an overturn. There is going to be a lack of federal protection, which means everyone who is pro-choice needs to start being motivated of like, how the fuck do we fix this now? And the dissenting opinion is going to be valuable to forming some of the arguments. I know that I don't even know if she's listening at this point. The issue is that when we morally grandstand and we get into this stuff, we actually ruin the conversation when it's like, I'm at least on the pro-choice side of saying like, this shit's going to happen. We're fucked. The overturning is going to happen. How do we get women's access to abortion now? What do we do?
So you're just going to do like respectability politics around people's rights? Awesome. Can you tell she's a Destiny person?
What are our next steps? Because I think that's going to be what's most helpful to women, rather than just like morally grandstanding about like how awful this is. It is fucking awful, but we need to now like get into like the actual solutions to this.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Preacher.
Yeah, Roe versus Wade being overturned, being kicked back to the states. I know Fabian earlier had mentioned the Louisiana bill and women being charged with murder for after 4 months of pregnancy. But then on the opposite side of that, you have California, which they're about to look at legislation that says even up to a week after the child is born, if the mother decides she doesn't want it, she can leave it in the other room, totally neglect it, let it die, and the medical examiner is not allowed to put cause of death on that. So
what
the fuck is he talking about? What is he talking about? I've never heard that before. They were talking about there's talk about enshrining the right to an abortion in the California Constitution, but there's nothing about neglecting a 1-week-old child. What are you talking about, you fucking lunatic? I'm starting to strongly empathise with Kev's talk of violence against Rory. My cat has twice in the last 15 minutes stepped on the power button while climbing atop my computer. Cats will always choose to do the most annoying thing they possibly can in any situation. It's delightful.
Bill, let me. I need to look at that one. That's a big
opening statement.
Oh, sorry. I just need to know the bill.
Okay, opening statements, Preacher.
So, either way, you're looking at it, there's going to be extremes. There's going to be, but this is the way it's designed.
Okay, I don't know if he answers, so I'm going to look it up. California abortion 1 week after birth. No, this California bill won't allow mothers to kill. What a surprise. Okay. Let's have a look. California produces new bill that would allow mothers to kill their babies up to 7 days after birth. No, this bill wouldn't allow mothers to kill their children after you're born. If your time is short, the bill is meant to ensure that people are not investigated, prosecuted, or incarcerated for ending a pregnancy, experiencing pregnancy loss, or losing a baby after it is born due to a pregnancy-related cause. Women in California have been prosecuted for delivering stillborns after using controlled substances. Wicks said she amended the language to specify that it would only prevent people from being prosecuted if a post-birth death occurred because of a pregnancy-related cause. So not they're allowed to murder their kid. What a surprise. What a massive fucking surprise.
Fine for states to make their decisions. This isn't something for the federal government to cover. This is up to each state. And you know what? If anything, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, the woman next to me, as she was saying, maybe this will get people to start actually paying attention to local politics, because that's what it's going to come down to. Pay attention to local politics, because now you want to know who you're voting into office. Obviously, me as a conservative, I'm for this, and I'm for the overturning. Listen, I used to be one who would concede a little bit of ground and say, okay, well, let's go with the heartbeat bill. But the last time I was on one of these panels and this subject was on there, no, there's no concession. We don't want any kind of bill stopping any kind of abortion. So,
yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm sorry. People didn't want to negotiate with you about which bits of their rights to take away. Oh, I'm sorry about that, my man. Okay, I tell you what, right? I want to take away your entire freedom. I want to lock you in a tiny box, right? You personally, Mr. Preacher Man, I want to lock you in a tiny box that's not really big enough for you to stand up in or anything, right? So it's a kind of like a torture device, like a medieval torture device. But I'm prepared to negotiate, okay? I'm prepared to negotiate and allow you some of your freedoms and just put you under house arrest for the rest of your life. Come on now, you've got to meet me halfway, bro. You've got to meet me halfway and agree that you are under house arrest for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're just being an extremist who's not really prepared to engage in the free marketplace of ideas. Okay? I've already given ground. I've given ground to you in allowing you to live in your own house, right? Your own house, for the rest of your life until you die. Okay? I can't say fairer than that, really, can I? You fucking dirtbag.
Went from being something that was rare and safe to anytime, anyone, and it's just now it's up to and even after birth. It's gotten insane. So yeah, I'm pro it being overturned and kicked back to states, and you're gonna have some states that are saying, you know what, nix abortion. Other states are saying, do it all you want. New York, California, off the top of my head. So I mean, it's just being kicked back to states. It's no big deal.
Okay, next we get to
no big deal to you, yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think that the argument against Roe v. Wade on the basis of constitutionality is pretty strong. Roe v. Wade relied on an understanding of the 14th Amendment, which was...
Can I just say, none of the people on this are legal experts. I'm just... So, you can kind of ignore it, really, but... Yeah.
Pretty removed, 2 levels abstracted from the original text, as well as, and we see this in Alito's opinion, that it relied on a misunderstanding and misapplication of common law and a misunderstanding of the history and opinions leading up to that 14th Amendment. So the idea that like we can stretch bodily autonomy and access to abortion from that 14th Amendment is pretty weak on a constitutional ground. And then when we go into Casey, I also think that like the arguments for this is a little weaker. I guess this isn't the topic, so maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think that like if you're going to argue for abortion rights, I think that we should also maybe be serious about the...
We talk about abortion rights, but what about abortion lefts and abortion wrongs?
Weakness of Roe v. Wade as constitutional.
And, of course, as well, have we considered adoption? Adorpian, everyone. Have you considered that? Have you considered it? I don't know that you have. Just saying. Also, DP can save a life. It can. I've seen several videos. DP's cool.
Okay, next is going to be Josie.
Okay, first I have to just push back immediately on the misinformation that there's a California bill saying that they are going to allow mothers to kill their children 7 days after birth. That is completely wrong and not even...
Yeah, we've been through this. I didn't pre-watch.
Incorrect. It's a bill that was introduced to protect women who had pregnancy-related births that were giving birth to stillborns, and there was radicals out there that were actually persecuting them for killing their children. It is a protection bill to protect mothers from the health of their babies and how their pregnancy is going, because things can happen. Okay, so it's actually a protection of women. It's not what you say it is, and it's disgusting that you would go to that length to try to say, oh, look what California is doing. Okay, I hate that.
True.
Okay, anyways,
absolutely true. So again, just base Josie from start to finish.
So going on to this decision about what is happening right now, about the fact that we are losing abortion access in a lot of the red states in this country. You already see it with Louisiana. It is already happening. The fact of the matter is, what we need to do is to make sure that we win in these next elections so we can actually start legislating things. And that includes changing rules to the filibuster so it's not an administrative block and an actual...
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. The states' rights people will say that if the GOP gets a majority in 2024 and they try to do a federal ban, I'm sure they will, yeah. I'm sure they will. Because they're scum, you know. Also, just notice this in Dylan's chat. Don't know what's going on there. Kevin is watching from heaven. Did you know I died? Also, did you know I was going to heaven? That seems like a stretch, if I'm honest with you. There you go. You know what, though? Look, people in chat, my lovely, lovely peeps. Every day, spending time with you is very much like being in heaven. So...
like and stop doing it and letting majority actually rule in this country. Like, we need to get back to that. We need to allow us to be able to legislate for things that are extremely popular. And these tools have been used over and over and over. And when you take a look at the Trump appointed judges, every single one of them lied through their teeth in front of the Senate confirmation hearings about that they were not going to overturn this decision because it was settled law. Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, as well as Gorsuch. those three all said that they were not going to do this, and those three are all on the names on this decision. It is showing that this entire Supreme Court situation has gone so out of hand that judges are being picked for political stances and are able to just lie to our Senate with no recourse or repercussions. There should be something. There needs to be some checks and balances on the judicial system. The checks and balances should go the other way as well. And I think that there are some really egregious things going on how these judges are being appointed and how they're being selected and their qualifications. So I think that this is going to hurt a lot of people, and we can get
the only check I'm interested in is my Saros check. Whoop whoop.
Into the nuances of that as we speak further.
Okay, next is going to be Kay.
I think the big thing is it's not that like taking this away is automatically legalizing it. It's going now more to the state level. And I think a lot of people, yes, there's a lot of these.
Yeah, and lots of states will take it away. So, like, I mean, just explaining that little nuance doesn't mean anything. Like, it'll be illegal in huge parts of the country. Yeah.
These big crazy state things that are happening, but I think we need to take into consideration, you talked about voting, we talked about this and that, like then do those things within your state and figure out what is the actual regulations that we want to put on these, because there clearly needs to be some type of regulation. I know personally I've heard a lot of stories and looking at data, the ones like I'm clearly more pro-life and I'm very open to the idea that there needs to be strict regulations on it. The idea of abortion happening for victims of rape and pregnancies from incest and stuff like that is 1%. Like these numbers are so minuscule compared to the amount of abortions that occur in the world for reasons of I can't afford a baby right now. I'm having relationship issues. Like it's going to dramatically.
Yeah, someone making their own medical decisions based on their life. Yeah, that's fine.
Change my life. Like, yeah, that's gonna fucking happen. That's what a kid does. Like, you know your actions when you went to go have sex. Like, there's a birth control, there's a plan B, there's condoms, there's so many other things that you can.
Which aren't 100%, but regardless, even if they say, okay, I'm going to take no precautions whatsoever and I'm going to let him spaff his beans all up me, right? So what? They can then say, well, I don't want to have a child. Yep. That's their medical decision, not yours.
Do to protect yourself in these situations. And yes, there's medical conditions that occur from in the womb, whether it be for the child or the mother, which those are completely different circumstances that need to be taken at a case-by-case basis, and not from a, hey, let's just legalize it for everyone and let us kill any fetus up until the time they get out of the womb. Like, that's not okay.
Okay, next I'm going to throw it over to Maddie.
Yeah, so I'm going to be upfront from the very beginning. I've had 2 abortions. I've had 2 abortions, and it's because at those times...
Oh, yeah, well, I've had 3 abortions. Checkmate.
I was not ready to be a mother, and I was not in a position where I could give the child the life it deserved. And now that I'm planning to start a family with my fiance in the next couple of years, when we eventually do start a family, I have been able to build the kind of life and have a foundation where when we start a family, I can give those children the love and support they deserve. And the only reason I'm in a position to do that is because I wasn't forced to carry a birth to term and have a baby before I was ready. And to think that that can always be prevented with contraception, in both cases, use condoms. That's why they're 99% effective. Not 100. And here's the thing about the Scottish decision. When they overturn Roe in June and allow states to ban the procedure, it's going to cause a massive mess for healthcare, for interstate travel, for criminal law, and for privacy rights. Forced birth in a country with the highest maternal mortality rate, no paid family leave, no universal subsidized childcare, no continued birth parent care, and frequently inaccessible healthcare, that is a new level of monstrous. Is there any condition that's more essential to democracy than a person's control over their own body? Can we call ourselves a free country without it when we deny that to more than half of our citizens?
Based.
The abortion debate just feels so repetitive and circular because, quote, it'll hurt women, women will die, because it's not about the actual interests of actual abortion patients. The whole fundamental question at issue is much more remedial about whether women are citizens at all, whether we deserve bodily autonomy. And it's sort of disgusting that we're being talked about as if we don't. In America, if this passes, a corpse will have more rights to its bodily autonomy than people with uteruses. Because you can't force someone to be an organ donor, even if them donating an organ will save a life. Can't force them. They can have no good reason too. They can have any reason they want. They can just be like, no, I don't want to donate a kidney to that person. He sucks. And they're fine, and like, it's fine. They're not obligated to do that. And yet we're asking people with uteruses to carry a child to term without universal health care. So that
I'm glad you're saying people with uteruses, because that's obviously trans inclusive as well. But one of the most disgusting and nakedly weird elements of all of this has been the TERFs, who don't seem to be that bothered by the taking away of women's rights, because it was never about that, but are really, really upset when someone says, like, people with uteruses. No, it's okay for them to take away people's rights as long as they say specifically we're taking away women's rights because they acknowledge it's a woman. It's just transphobia. That's all they're interested in. They don't give a fuck about women's rights. J.K. Rowling still hasn't tweeted out about this, but she did attack a friend of the Twitch channel, Katie Montgomery, for daring to say, like, oh, they should ask GC people whether they care about abortion. They just do transphobia, that's all it is.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It's a dangerous medical procedure, so we're asking them to go through that because we care about what? The sanctity of life. We care about the health of that baby. If you care about the health of that baby, why don't you fight tooth and nail for free prenatal health care for every pregnant woman to ensure that every child that is born in this country is able to thrive and be...
I've said this before. The only surefire way is to ban all penises. That's it. Ban the penises. Can I get some DTP in chat for... No. BTP in chat for ban the penises.
Healthy. What about paid free school lunch? What about universal childcare? What about universal family leave? Like, do you realize that it's illegal to separate puppies from their moms before, I think it's like 8 weeks, because they say separating them before then is inhumane? Yet we have no guaranteed paid family leave for women who have given...
Because it's inhumane. Yeah, they're not humans. Yeah.
Birth?
What?
I don't think so. So yeah, I just think my heart is breaking for the people with uteruses in America who are going to have to live in a world where they have fewer rights to their own bodily autonomy than a fucking corpse.
Yep. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Eris.
Holy shit, that was a hell of a speech from Maddie. I totally understand why it seems like Maddie's attitude might seem like emotional, and I understand, like, Fabian, why you want to talk about, like, theory. But the truth is that this issue, it's hard not to be emotional about it when you're affected by it, and I totally understand your frustration. Like, you want to talk about the facts and logic and all that kind of stuff. But again, from like a female perspective and a perspective of people who can get pregnant, the entire idea is, it feels...
Thank you for the ASCII art. Much love.
It sounds like something from like a sci-fi dystopia, and yet it seems to be something that's like normalized or like somewhat accepted in the United States. In other developed areas in the world, here in Canada, even our most conservative populations don't regard it as a legislation issue, right? They might want to reduce abortions, but they don't see it as like something...
Yeah, it's basically the same here, I think, for the most part. Like, even most conservatives are just like, they don't like it, but it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. Like, it's not that big a deal. Thank you for spamming the links, Wayward Historian. Don't forget, I am going to be poor at the end of this month because I'm now banned from Twitch for a week. So if you can help supplement my income to make up for that shortfall, the links are there. There's a PayPal, there's a Streamlabs, I have a Patreon. You can go and support me there. It would be much appreciated by me, and, well, I was going to say it would be appreciated by Rory Katz. It won't be. He doesn't care. He's a cat. He cares not for such human considerations. But he would definitely care if I wasn't able to afford the chicken that he requires. Do you want to see him upset? Well, more than I already show you him upset on camera. Yeah. Because he's actually a very happy cat, usually. It's just when I show him to you, he's almost certainly just woken up, and I've picked him up and I'm holding him at a weird angle, so he's on camera. So there's that. Anyway.
That you criminalize a woman for, it's very extreme, and the fact that that's seen as a criminal issue is very frustrating, and it's hard not to get emotional about it. So I would ask for people who are watching this to at least like have some...
Wayward Historian absolutely doing God's work.
It's like on why this is so scary, and why it's hard to not just discuss like, oh, like let's just like open this book and discuss the theory like without any emotions. It's very challenging to do that unless we're like Data from Star Trek, when it so directly involves...
or unless you're like a libertarian and you're not really like a proper human being. You don't consider other humans as humans. They're just like vessels that are there to make money or whatever. Like, yeah.
Our bodies and our lives. That's one thing. And
actually, it would be really interesting. I mean, you don't. To be honest with you, I was about to say it'd be really interesting to see to see conservative, to see an anarcho-capitalist woman's perspective on this. But then I thought to myself, are there any anarcho-capitalist women? There was like Ayn Rand, but she's dead. Can you get some lols in chat for Ayn Rand still being dead? But yeah, are there any? I don't know. I'm really not sure, to be honest. Very odd. So you don't buy Lexi's suggestion that the Tories will start running on this in the future? I mean, I think the Tories will probably try to reduce the limit just as a kind of throwing a bone to the religious, but it's not really a big issue, is it? I don't think.
Also, like, something that I've noticed that's just totally absent from the American discussion is just...
Hang on, like, let's look it up. I genuinely don't know the numbers, right? So let's say support for abortion UK. I mean, I support aborting the UK, but that's a different matter. Opinion polls. Abortion. Here we go. YouGov. Yeah, accept cookies. Blah blah blah. Should women have the right to an abortion? 88%, 86%. Yeah, look, I mean, that's... Women should have the right to an abortion is 86%. Look at that. Don't know is higher than... Hang on. Look, don't know is 9% and against is 5%. Literally, the don't knows are more popular. So why would they, like... The Conservatives might want to do something, but when the population are that much, like, against it, like, come on. Conservatives are about power. They don't want to lose power, so they don't want to lose support by doing something that's obviously that unpopular.
How much it's focused on criminalization. The answer, if conservatives want to reduce abortions, which I think conservatives around the world do want to reduce abortions in general, but conservatives in Canada...
If they did, they'd get rid of abstinence-only education. They'd make condoms free. But they're not about that. They're not against abortion. They're for forced birth.
When they focus on reducing abortions, it's not through legislation. They do it through either like the Medical Ethics Board, or they do it through...
True, it's 70% in America, but that 30% are very rabid, right? And 30% is a significantly higher proportion. And, of course, one of the political parties has been taken over by religious extremists. And the other party are shit. Like, actually defending anything, it seems. So yeah, it's a very different situation. In Britain, we don't really have like religious fundamentalism as a political force. Like it's not really a thing. Not to say there aren't some people who are mental, because obviously there are, but they're not a particularly high or important part of the population, which is rather different.
Like trying to enable mothers to choose life, and it seems very strange to me that the answer from an American pro-life perspective is always like, let's criminalize.
Whenever I see "Choose Life," I'm always reminded of the House Martins album with was it "Choose Jesus, Choose Marx, Choose Life" on the album, on the inside sleeve of the album cover. It always pops into my mind.
In Canada instead we say like we actually have zero criminal legislation when it comes to abortion. In theory, in Canada, you can literally be like 9 months pregnant and technically abort your child and not be a criminal. And I know that sounds totally crazy. The thing is, it never happens here. No one actually aborts their children at that time. Instead, we leave it to medical ethics. So doctors have all these specific rules.
I genuinely have a similar-ish kind of theory, Shadow Man, about South Africa and the Netherlands. The reason that the Netherlands is like so liberal and chill in so many respects is because a lot of the right-wing fuckheads pissed off to South Africa and did apartheid instead. I think there must be something to that. Genuinely, I think there must be something to that. If you take out a huge portion of your, like, right or left, that's going to have ramifications for decades, isn't it? Centuries, even. Oh, guess who's scratching at the fucking door? Hello, Ruddy Kids. Do you want to go on camera? Do you? you doing? Come here. Come here then. See if I can coax him to come on camera. Oh. Hello everyone. Oh yeah, I got my shaved my beard off. Come here then. Come here then. Alright, I'm gonna have to go and pick you up then, aren't I? Dickhead. He is a dickhead. It's official. How hard you rolling, kids? See if I can get him purring. Can you hear him purring? Now, if that isn't worth a donation on the old Streamlabs, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. That level of cuteness, you can't buy that. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. You should always adopt.
Ethics boards and all this on when they're supposed to conduct abortions, when it's okay to, when it's not okay to, and all that stuff. And it's just seen as a medical issue. It's not seen as this criminal one. And I think it just gives, like, you guys should take a little pause and think, like, why are we so obsessed with making this a criminal issue? And maybe there's a little bit of misogyny that is underlying that. Just something to think about.
You think? There might be a bit of misogyny.
Fabian? Yeah, so I'd actually like to talk about the topic. We hear a lot of people not talking about the topic and just kind of spewing bullshit. And I never thought that I would actually have to do this, but I guess.
Oh, I never thought I'd have to do this, but actually, your rights should be taken away from you. I bet.
You know, broken clock is right twice a day. I'm just gonna quote our lovable quote that I think everyone knows who said it. Facts don't care about your fucking feelings. And I changed it a little bit. First of all, Amy Coney Barrett didn't fucking say that she wasn't going to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's just more misinformation. She specifically said that she believed in stare decisis, but that she thought that it was not settled law, and that the fact that there have been so many cases shows that it's not settled law, and that there was issues with Roe v. Wade. She kept her opinion on, like, saying, like, I totally overturn it, kind of to herself, but that's
Yeah, lying by omission is still lying.
pretty typical of Supreme Court SCOTUS appointees in the Senate, especially if they've ever worked on a case. If there's any ongoing things on the docket, they tend not to like talk about them that much, and they can tend to be evasive. And of course Republicans will do it when they will yell about the Democrats, like when Jackson is like not answering certain things. They're like, see, she's dishonest. And then Democrats do it when it's a conservative representative. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just what SCOTUS people do in Senate confirmation hearings. In terms of us talking about the filibuster, again, this is a total non sequitur. It has no relevance on this. If you're not able to come to an agreement on abortion legislation, unless you can get rid of the...
Have you ever seen a guy who's more maidenless than this? Like, this guy gets negative bitches. Official.
Filibuster, then you're not creating legislation that isn't simply going to be overturned the next time the Senate is taken by the opposing party. It's not a compromise. Like, that's how legislation in democracy works. You guys, I love that the left tends to love democracy until democracy goes against whatever it is their opinion. Then all of a sudden, we have to make the system.
How is this democracy when 70% support a thing? How is this democracy, dude? How? Fucking wanker.
Some less democratic.
It's at times like this I really miss having the wanker emote. Ugh.
Again, talking about...
I've been silenced. My freedoms of the peaches have been silenced.
Abortion in this case is not what we're talking about. We're talking about whether or not Roe v. Wade should be overturned. Roe v. Wade being overturned does not criminalize abortion in any way, shape, or form. That is just a complete falsity. What it does
is allow the states to do that. So there's just an extra judicial or an extra bureaucratic layer, which makes it totally different. Honest, guys.
It does allow certain states to do that, and it allows additional challenges to go to the court and for the legislator to be able to determine, like, what are the appropriate lines and what aren't the appropriate lines. What it is I know you guys are going to hate to hear it again, it's democracy. And I'm the one that's not...
No, it isn't. This is directly against the majority.
Not a fan of democracy, not you guys. So...
Unbelievable.
I want to talk about the actual Roe v. Wade. I don't want to talk about just emotional arguments around abortion and then pretending like everyone that doesn't agree with you exactly is somehow a pro-life nut job crazy.
No, you're not pro-life, but you are a nut job.
Easy person because they happen to disagree, or somebody like me that's not fucking pro-life. I'm an evictionist. So I mean, hopefully we can spin this conversation into something that actually makes fucking sense instead of rantings about like they're coming for me and it's the end of the world. And we can actually talk about the fucking topic.
Coming for you was part of the problem in the first place. Ayo.
Okay, can I jump in and say like 2 things right away? Number 1, I'll raise you a new quote. Facts don't care about your feelings, but more importantly, people don't care about your facts unless you care a little about your feelings, okay? And so when I brought up feelings specifically, there's power to bringing feelings and emotions and human experience into these conversations, right? When Maddie shared about her experience with abortions and how it has overall improved her life, that is a good utilization of emotions in a debate. The problem when emotions are an issue is when you try to weaponize them and bludgeon them against people who disagree with you. That becomes an issue because when you weaponize
I am the radical centaur.
Feelings in a debate, it typically causes the opposing side to resent you, not be more warm to your position. So you have to be smart about how you use feelings, just like you have to be smart about how you use facts, but both are important, particularly in a topic that deeply impacts specific individuals' lives the most, that being people with a uterus.
Let me be more specific. Plenty of people have talked about rhetoric and how pathos, ethos, and logos need to be connected to each other. And if you just make a logos-based argument, people aren't going to follow you because there isn't an emotional appeal there. There isn't a narrative. But when you make emotional arguments that are non sequiturs, that are not attached to the discussion in any way, shape, or form, and your entire argument.
The only other person you hear talking about pathos, logos, and blah, 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 is Jordan Peterson. And this guy is more annoying than Peterson. Somehow.
Is pathos, you look like a crazy person.
And then when you hold on one second. I just want to say this really quickly, Fabian. So if you focus only on logos and you say that repealing Roe v. Wade doesn't automatically
isn't that the guy from the Avengers?
Trigger, then there are 13 states that have post-Roe laws that ban
That's
nearly
a joke,
all abortions
by the way.
that would be triggered as soon as Roe is overturned.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And 9 states retain their unenforced pre-abortion bans as well. So as soon as Roe v. Wade is gone, and it doesn't restrict them from being able to enforce in the way they are. So right off the bat, right there are 22 states. The second that this case becomes the law of the land, we'll have it immediately the next day. So you say it's wrong.
Wait. I can't hear anything. Okay. So that was directed towards Fabian. So Fabian should have some time to respond. I have Maddie, Preacher, and Taft all on the list.
Yeah, I'll be real quick, right? Like, number one, now that this has been leaked, of course, like we may see federal regulation, but probably not because the Democrats are too busy yelling about it. But the second, you think there won't be stay of executions? Like, you think there won't be like challenges almost instantly to those laws that are going to, you know what I mean? Like I just don't see this.
See, it's okay that a person undergoing the emotional stress of the situation initially should be put through the emotional and financial stress of having to take that situation to court or go to prison forever for murder. That seems like a perfectly sensible thing in a modern nation, according to fucking shit stain over here.
I don't know. It just feels like fear-mongering to me. I'm trying to connect this to reality of the situation, and I just don't see it connecting to the reality.
The reality is that these 9 states and these 13 states, these 9 states can't enforce.
No, the joke was she said logo. If you just focus on logos, and it's like Loki, the guy from the Avengers, who's also like an ancient god or some shit. I don't fucking know.
These laws because of Roe v. Wade. As soon as it's gone, they can. It's basic how overturning precedent works. So, Fabian, if you want to talk about logos, you have to actually connect your argument to the fact that an overturning of this decision allows 9 states to immediately start enforcing abortion bans and 13 states to immediately start enforcing them because they have trigger laws.
Which is why I asked you. You don't think there won't be immediate challenges and stays of execution?
You think that is like peace of mind? You think that's peace of mind for people who like need an abortion now? You think that's peace of mind for people that's like, oh, don't worry, the courts will figure it out. Like it's going to be challenged. Don't worry. You think
if you have a stay of execution,
it doesn't fucking surprise me. It doesn't fucking surprise me that you're like, I don't understand it. Yeah, that's very unfucking surprising because you're not going to be one of the people that is forced to carry a child to term when you don't want to. No, you're gonna fucking listen. Oh, I'm getting so emotional because poor me with my fucking.
No, Fabian,
you're just wrong.
She's not wrong.
Like, I'm not fucking wrong.
Fabian,
let me just finish really quickly. Sorry, and Taft, I know, like, thank you. I'll finish, I promise. But like, as an example, believe it or not, Wisconsin has a pre-Civil War abortion ban that could take effect the second Roe v. Wade is overturned. And here's the thing: in an election year, the Wisconsin Republicans have openly stated that they want to take that law further because that law does make an exemption in the case that the pregnancy is threatening the woman's life.
Which, to be fair, if it's a pre-Civil War law, every pregnancy threatened the woman's life. Like, look, died of childbirth was like very, very common back then. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at the death. I'm just laughing at the idea that they made an exemption at that time, because that would mean you could have bought every baby back then, basically. Because every single time the woman was likely to die.
But what the people who are running for major statewide offices in Wisconsin want to do is get rid of that exemption so that there are no exemptions for abortion, so that you can...
And as I've said to Christy before, the only solution to this is to ban Wisconsin. Can I get some BWs in chat for ban Wisconsin?
Cannot get an abortion regardless. If you were raped, if it threatens your life, if the child is not viable, like, that is fucking insane. And fucking forgive me if I get so worked up in my little female brain about the notion that there are going to be women who die from this silly little thing, because I'm sure it's going to make them feel better knowing that people can challenge it in court, and then they'll just have to wait to get their abortions until that whole process goes through. What a comfort that is. Gosh, if only I had thought of that.
Can I just jump in and say, like, Maddie, you're right about almost. I agree with you on. Okay.
I'm sorry. I gotta throw it over to Taft, because Taft has been waiting a decent amount of time. And then Preacher, you're on the list. Don't worry.
Quick then. Fabian, you said that we have to contend with reality, and I agree. And the reality is that when Roe v. Wade is overturned, there will be a number of states whose laws trigger to ban abortions, as well as the existing precedent on the books for these laws that is already there. I think you really do need to contend with this as someone who is an evictionist and who believes that a woman's bodily autonomy is important to someone who's not pro-life. I think you need to seriously consider that, and not just pretend that nothing's going to happen. And I'm with you in just wanting to talk about the legal argument, because I think we agree on that. I think we agree that Roe v. Wade is probably not a good constitutional decision. But the reality is it's going to have these effects on abortions. And I think neither you or I necessarily believe those effects are good. So we got to contend with that other side of it.
I don't really care. I'll be honest with you, I'm done. I'm done for the evening, I think. You know when you just reach your limit and you're just like, I am done here. Thank you. I've said my piece here. I can't be bothered. How long have we been going, by the way? How long have we been going? Like 2.5 hours. Okay. Does Dylan gain a point for having 2/3 of the panel be women? I mean, I guess it's better than usual. What's this? What do you think about my ethno-white Christian state hypothesis? So they see this as a Christian law to ban abortion. I think it's more of an ethno-Christian white state. That's the larger game for the fanatical GOP. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah. Okay, what am I waiting for, 255? Sorry, Clem Fandango. What am I waiting for? You have a brief window in which to type whatever you need to type. And in the meantime, I'll shill again. You can help me out on Patreon, on the Streamlabs, on PayPal. All of those things, if you want to help keep me and Rory Cats from starvation. Is the main. That's the main thing, really. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Neither of us are close to starvation right now. We winter well, but yeah. Lol. Ending on the centrist having a point. Should we read anything into that? Radical centaur. No. You shouldn't really. I've had enough. I've had enough of this debate. To be honest with you. Yeah. Nothing personal or anything, just, My first face mirror since you shaved. Oh, God, 255. It just looks weird. There's me. There you go. I'll leave you with that nightmare fuel. Thank you. Thank you very much, 255. And on that bombshell, I'll leave you. Thank you enormously, everyone, for all of your support. Oh, and we've got Nick. Nick, is this cat related? Have we got cat related stuff? Oh, talking of Loki, the only Loki that counts is Nick's cat Loki, who is fucking adorable. I think we can all agree. Absolutely delicious activity there. Everyone go and follow Nick's Twitter account for... No, that's not Rory Cry, that's a cat outside. That's possibly Peanut, who's next door neighbour's cat, trying to get in, I think. Wicked, you're streaming again, Kev. Rory Power. Well, human on Earth, I've been streaming for the last 2 years over on twitch.tv/KFLogan1875. You should go and join me there. But when you can, which is in about 6 days' time. If you go there now, it won't make any deal. I'm just banned. But you should come over and see. I do these kind of streams all the time. Like, pretty much every day. Yeah. Anyway, on that low-key bombshell, I'll leave you for tonight. I'll probably... Well, it's just gone midnight, so I might be back today. As in, Sunday? Is it Sunday now? Hang on, let me check. It is Sunday now. I might be back Sunday, I don't know. If not, I'll be back next week at some point. I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to fill in with doing this on YouTube. And then probably once I go back on Twitch, I might do like one YouTube stream a week. Just if for no other reason, then I can just... I can look at like... weird shit that has done or Destiny has done, because they're not banned here, whereas they are banned obviously on Twitch, and Twitch is weird. And also I can maybe drag some YouTube people across to the Twitch by advertising it. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna fuck off. Thank you all for listening and watching. You people are genuinely amazing. You follow me on my various platforms. All of my links are... Actually, I'm not sure I put them in the description of this video, but they're available on other ones. So that's a thing. Thank you all for listening and watching. They can never silence the Kevolution. Know that. No pass around.